Well, we can speak now to Labour's Jonathan Reynolds, the Shadow Business and Trade Secretary. Good to have you on the programme today. Now, before we get into the nuts and bolts of the interview, can we just clear something up? Keir Starmer said in an interview today that he has protected time with his kids every Friday and he won't work past 6 p.m, and that's what he intends to do in office as well. Does he mean he won't work past 6 p.m. every day or just on Fridays?
Well, look, anyone who has worked with Keir could testify to his professionalism, to his ferocious work ethic. But what he said in that interview was he would still keep time for his children on a Friday. It's an important family ritual that they have. And I love that, Sophie. I love the fact that someone in such a prominent position in public life is saying, as a father, childcare is not just an optional extra you bolt on. It's integral to who you are. You've got to make time for that. And I want an economy where everyone, to be honest, has the kind of work they can have a good family life around. I think too many people don't have that. To see that kind of positive role model from someone who could be the country's prime minister is absolutely fantastic. And it's exactly what we need more of, I think.
Look, I totally get, the idea that you can't just pick and choose childcare, that it's important for both parents to be engaged. But I guess the problem that some people might be thinking is, look, can you really be that prescriptive if you're Prime Minister? Can you really kind of say, actually, Friday evenings, that's my family time? There are national crises, calls with international leaders, security briefings. You've got to be flexible if you want to be PM, surely.
Of course. Look, I've worked with Keir very closely. He is always on it. He's always prepared. He always makes time for that. But rather than just focus on that, to be able to say, but my family's important, I'm going to make time for them, I'm going to still be a dad, and that's important to me. It's exactly what I think, particularly men in politics, should be comfortable talking about.
So he's going to be more of a kind of chillaxing David Cameron than, kind of Gordon Brown with this red box into the early hours of the morning. Is that what we should expect if he makes it into number 10?
Look, if you look at Keir's incredible legal career, if you look at the job he's done as leader of the opposition, you can see, I think, that professionalism and work ethic in everything that he does. But I think sometimes in a whole range of occupations, there's this temptation to talk about it, I work every hour, I never see my own family. Well, actually, that doesn't mean you're performing well in the job. You'll do your best work if your family life, your life infrastructure around you is in a good condition. And I want more people being able to say that. And I want that for more people at every level of the British economy.
Now, we're in election week. You've defended the kind of Labour campaign against people who've said it's a bit boring, a bit uninspiring. You've said, we're not pitching you a new Netflix series. But don't you want people to feel, I guess, a bit more excited than they do currently about the prospect of a Labour government?
No, I do think people are excited. What I said is, we don't think politics is entertainment. We think we've had too much of that. Politics should be about public service, should be about fixing problems. But I also, in that speech last week, went on to say, a country where young people can expect to be able to get on the housing ladder or have some security if they're renting, that is pretty radical from where the UK is right now. A country where people have more secure work, where they know how many hours they're getting next week, that would be quite radical. Having a good faith relationship with our nearest trading partner rather than have the internal politics of what the Conservative Party is doing, dominating that relationship with the EU, that would be quite radical. And I think, we need to see a focus in this country on some of the basics: good work, good wages, a decent place to live. That would be a change. But we are clear that, frankly, one of the things holding the UK back in the last few years has been politics as soap opera, has been frequent changes of Prime Minister and personnel. And I think the British public are in the mood, they're in the market for serious government again, for an end to the chaos. And that will only come through a change to a Labour government on Thursday.
I guess what I'm trying to get at is, the polls suggest that you're on for a historic majority. But the paradox is that Keir Starmer could actually be the most unpopular Labour leader to become Prime Minister. His approval ratings are negative, unlike Tony Blair or David Cameron when they first came into power. Is the truth that this election is more about a rejection of the Conservative Party rather than anyone being that excited or encouraged by the thought of Keir Starmer in number 10?
Well, I would strongly push back on that. And I would say, look, I acknowledge that the Conservative record is very poor. There's frankly nothing working better today than when they came to power in 2010. But anyone who thinks that would mean an automatic transfer of support to the opposition, I'm afraid politics just isn't like that. It's certainly not as easy as that. If Labour hadn't changed in response to the 2019 defeat, there is no way we'd be competitive in this election, no matter what the Conservative Party were doing. And if that is possible, let's be clear, that would make Keir Starmer, if that happens, only the second Labour leader in 50 years to do it, to go from opposition to government. So it's quite an achievement, and I think can't be diminished. But what I have seen and what I know is that it is Keir Starmer's leadership that has directly contributed to Labour being in a position to contest this election.
So why is the approval rating still so low then, his personal ratings, compared to previous people who've come into power?
There's been a diminishing of politics and public life in the last few years. I think people are cynical. I think they too often have seen such poor government, they have stopped believing politics can make things any better. I think that reflects on all political leaders, but I know from what Keir has achieved as leader of the opposition with the Labour Party, that if he is anywhere near as successful, if he becomes Prime Minister, I think people will recognise that a great deal. And I know him personally, and I know he has the skills and attributes required to be a very good Prime Minister, but of course, nothing is decided yet. It's still possible Rishi Sunak could wake up on Friday as the Prime Minister. If people don't vote for change, it won't happen. But if they do vote for change in Keir Starmer, they will get a Prime Minister they can believe in again.
OK, thank you very much indeed. Jonathan Reynolds there of the Labour Party. Thank you.